If you would like an opportunity to speak tonight for the 3 minute that is allowed for public audience participation, will you please sign the list? Will you please see our city clerk to sign the list? Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise for our Board of Aldermen meeting, our regular meeting for this July 13th of 2021. We're calling our meeting to order, and our invocation tonight will be given by the Reverend Stephen Word, pastor of the Believers Church at 1600 Cash Road, right here in the lovely city of Camden, Arkansas.
That's right. Good evening. Thank you for the invitation, Mayor. I'd invite all of you that are here and willing, if you join me in a prayer of invocation. Almighty and eternal God, our Heavenly Father, we invoke your presence and your name on these proceedings tonight. Lord, we pray that the governance that would go forth from this council, both tonight and each time it meets, would be honoring to you and beneficial to the citizens of this community. Lord, that the words of our mouth and the meditations of our heart would please you tonight. And we thank you for all those who serve our community, knowing that there are many, and knowing that they serve in diverse capacities. I pray that all those that serve will not grow weary in doing good, but those that serve in your name will take confidence that they will see the fruit of their labor. And Lord, we ask that you bless this city and prosper this community and those who dwell in it, work in it, and serve in it. Father, but before that, we pray that you enrich our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus with the wisdom, the knowledge, and the love poured out in our hearts by you that there is no substitute for. Because without these things, we would not even successfully navigate prosperity. In fact, it would be to our peril. Lord, we thank you that you are good and gracious towards us. And we thank you for these things and even approach you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Will you please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may take your seat. Our roll call tonight will be by our city clerk, Mrs. Donna Stewart. Here.
McCoy.
Present.
McDonald.
Present.
Moore. Argay.
Here.
Smith.
Present.
Present. Thank you. At this time, we will allow for a motion for the approval of our minutes of our regular meeting for July 8th, 2021.
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and properly second. Is there any discussion?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
What was the motion?
Approval of the minutes for,
Who made the motion? He said so moved. He didn't state his motion, is my point.
yes, sir. All right.
I'll let him make it.
I think what he's referring to is, whether or not the proper to say so moved, as the chair says, or someone says, I'd like a motion to purchase 5 5 acres on Smith Street, and someone says so moved, whether that's the proper form. And to be the chair, whether or not everybody recognizes that as a motion, the guidelines will specify that it's better to restate the motion in full form and still say, I move to approve the minutes from last month's meeting in proper form.
All right, letter E. Someone say that one. Do I do, what, E is the approval of minutes. I read it and someone needs to state it again for the,
The person who makes the motion needs to restate.
state the
what he
motion.
said about the minutes.
All right.
I guess what we're needing is for Joe, if you would say, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from June meeting.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the June minutes as Ellie stated and Brother McDonald.
I said it.
It's been moved and now properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Discussion. I don't understand why it was put in the motion. That was, the only thing we was doing was approving the minutes. I mean, if you're gonna do the proper form, it says, I move that, because I'll make a motion, it's fine, but as they record the record, it's saying what he said, we actually didn't say that. Somebody else said it. He just said, I so moved. And when you actually record the record's gonna read, he said that when he actually did it. Am I correct, Mr. Attorney?
Well, why don't you start us off and
I'm not the mayor.
So what do you want me to say? What should I say?
Well, the chair gets to make a ruling. I mean, I take that as being a question as to the form of the motion. The question is whether or not the council is aware of what is being voted on. And the clerk will record it. But it is correct, the gentleman says, make a motion that was officially stated by Alderman Askew, and that sounded fairly represent what the motion was. But if that would be considered an objection, then the chair would make that ruling.
Would you mind leaving his name out and making the motion one more time? Will you make the motion one more time without his name?
I would like to make the motion that we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
I said,
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any more discussion?
You can say if you object, but the chair gets to rule, is what I'm saying. I mean, any council member can say, I question the previous motion, I want it restated, I want to be sure it's clear. And then the chair has to make a decision.
Yes, sir. We restated it, so is there any more discussion on the minutes for last month, June? Those in favor, use the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, use the voting sign of nay. We will entertain a motion for the acceptance of the financial report.
I make a motion we accept the financial report.
I said,
It's been moved and second. Are we ready for discussion?
I'm gonna say I have a little bit of a question or two, and I don't know whether to address them to the mayor or to the treasurer, or, let me see some notes here. Some of them are just kind of technical things, of just titles of where the money's being transferred. We had 3 transfers out of the general fund, one going to solid waste, one going to the street fund, and then the airport deal that's back and forth. But anyway, when I was looking at our solid waste budget, and I'm gonna say a little concerned. We knew we were coming up a little short on the solid waste fund when we did our budget, because we were having to take money from the general fund to put in there this year. Previous years, we've been taking money out of the solid waste and to put into the street fund. And just looking at the way that the costs have run over there, that may all work out, but we haven't even purchased the big equipment items in the collection side, were about $300,000 that we had budgeted that hadn't spent, hadn't done yet, and 200,000 in the disposal that we haven't done. And we're just, our regular operating expenses are running way over budget. And it may just be from the storms or whatever, but I'm just thinking, well, we need to be aware that we're running way over budget, I think, in solid waste. And I was gonna ask another question about on the port facilities fund. Now, that's a new page we've got since we took over the incinerator building, incubator building. And I guess I'm curious about that. We have some budgeted income for it, for lease payments, but I don't see any being collected for the year. And I don't see any operating expenses in there, so I'm wondering, where are the utilities and the things like that what fund are they being paid from?
They're being paid out of the general fund under the, tech.
Under what?
Under the
Is
tech.
what we used to put out.
Technology building?
Tech is short for technology building.
Yeah, the technology building, and that changed, I believe, at the end of last year, is when all that changed. It was before Jim left.
Okay. Oh, so I know where to look for it then.
Is there any more discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of 10, under revenue and expenditures, typically I don't get excited when I see something hit 100%, but when I see something at 1,800% of our budget, it makes me curious. Revenue, it would be 00 general revenues, and I get it, revenue's a good thing, but why did the Arkansas first responders state act so erratically this year? And granted, it's only $1,000, but and we were expecting 60, we took in 1,000, and then on the very next page, same thing, under expenses, the 1,000 goes out, 1,035, so is there a reason that was so unexpected and income and outgo real quick like that?
Hold on just a minute.
Which number are you
On
looking at?
45770 on page 2 of 10 for the general fund, 45770, Arkansas first responder for the state.
And it looks like it's pretty much a wash, but, when it shows up as 1,800% of what we expected it to be, it just kind of caught my attention.
Yes, sir.
That's what we bring in from the district court.
Well, it shows the same number going as an expense on the next page. Wow.
I don't know that I
$20
can.
Of the same expense.
I don't know that I can fully explain that particular line right now, but I will say that when people were getting monies in, I do know that a lot of people started paying off fines with the monies, and we've been seeing some numbers right at almost 200,000 January, February, March for monies that were coming in, and when the circuit courts and everything just switched over, and some new things have happened. As a result of that last election, when we changed the way the court system is being done. So I think it's very possible that when we budgeted on this particular one, because this is the first time it's been this way with the district court, now we have Judge Graham, and he does more than this area. And so a lot of that, I think we may have not known how to budget until we saw some numbers from the first time around. This is a whole new way of doing this particular system.
Okay, I guess we'll just keep an eye on it and see what happens.
Did you say we got $200,000 in court fines?
We almost collected in the month of February. We were at 190-something thousand. When people got those stimuluses, a lot of people came in and paid their fines. January, February, and March, we saw remarkable numbers.
Does that show up on our budget here, or
No, you won't see it in, it won't, this one is not as detailed as that, but those are the kind of monies that we saw coming into the court system at that particular time.
Okay, I was just wondering, I wasn't seeing that money, so we were supposed to see it, I don't know where to see it. Okay, going
So-
somewhere else apparently. Goes to the courthouse. Would that be where,
No, there are fines.
there, our money?
It's gonna be it's possible that's here today, is what I'm thinking.
All right, is it,
I got a question.
yes, sir.
The miscellaneous expense under police, what do we use that for?
Show me the page.
What page?
Page 6 of 10 on the general fund.
And also, the same page, it says from January to June, we spent almost $70,000 in overtime. Am I reading that correct?
That is very possible when that storm and the flooding that we've had has been remarkable this year. And that ice storm was something that we really had no way of budgeting for. Call the line number out for me one time. Miss Lane, is that 533? Which one?
51220 on overtime, what I'm looking at.
Page 5 of 10.
Says we use.
Oh, 5.
Yeah, 55,000, and then 16,000, and then almost 70,000. And then miscellaneous is 53390, $10,000. I was wondering, we used to have a line item for, I guess, I thought at one time for prisoner housing, or does that cover that? I know we owe the county quite a bit of money, several $1,000s we hadn't paid for housing prisoners.
I guess we dispute the other, but there would be, there's a special fund for that, that's administration and justice fund. That shouldn't be what you're looking at right there.
And where's that at on here?
Administration, justice, well, it'd be under municipal, one of those court things, wouldn't it?
Should be.
Municipal court probation?
No, this is. Do we owe the county, don't we owe them several thousand, 80,000, 60,000? I know that they talked to you, the mayor's grinning, I think he knows what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think you know what we're talking about, we don't agree we owe it.
Okay.
Right, I would say that's in, negotiations, correct. We have not agreed we owe that.
Okay.
I've got, well.
I mean, that's something we need to settle before we start spending money on anything else.
I agree with that. Well, there's more than that amount of funds in the administration of justice account. So the administration of justice account collects fine money on every ticket that someone gives within the city of Camden. There's an added fee that is allocated solely for maintaining prisoners. The question is whether or not that's just for housing prisoners or whether it includes the medical liability. Is one of the questions. So we had an agreement with the sheriff, and I remember years ago before the jail was built, at which time the city undertook to promote passing the jail tax in consideration of the agreement that we would have a certain number of allocated beds with the sheriff's office. That agreement was signed, there were several articles at the time, op-eds over that agreement. At that time, that agreement was still in place at the decision of the city. So there's more than sufficient funds in the administration of justice fund, even with what the county would say is outstanding. So we have to come out of the, as far as the council looking at the budget, we would be separate. Those funds are segregated and restricted for just that expense,
Just for prisoners?
just for prisoners. Housing prisoners, transporting prisoners, and medical liability prisoners.
I have
Yes, sir.
One other item, on page 9 of 10 in our report, this is the parks splash pad. And I was curious, we've got there again, the pool's not open, splash pad is. We are paying $6,400 in the month of June for salaries for something. Do we have lifeguards at the splash pad?
We do have some youth at the splash pad.
$6,400 a month?
I don't know that that's what they cost. I think that's, let me look at, call the line number out for me.
It's 51110 on
Oh,
page
that's
9 out
regular
of 10.
salary. Okay. And those are regular salaries, is that just the young people, just the lifeguards? Okay.
So we do have lifeguards at the splash pad.
Yes, sir, we do have attendance at the splash pad.
Okay.
Any more discussion,
Broke.
sir?
There's a way to go broke.
Okay. Is, any more discussion? Those in favor, use voting sign of aye. Those opposed, use voting sign of nay. Ayes have it on the financial report. At this time, we're going to prepare for audience participation. And as we allow for audience participation, your name,
Did we vote?
those in favor, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We did.
Okay. All right, so at this time, we're going to prepare for audience participation. If you would be so kind, when your name is called, come to the microphone, give us your name and your physical address, and you have 3 minutes to make your presentation.
Mr. Larry Mitchell.
Good evening, Mayor, Alderman. Thank y'all for giving me this opportunity to stand before you. Larry Mitchell, 649 Magnolia Road. I won't be with you long. I just have some questions I need some understanding on. Like property lines, when you live next door to someone, what's your codes or your laws for putting up a fence or putting up property line identification? Can anyone help me with that?
Do you have, is that your only question?
Yes, because I just need some understanding how the fence, how far your fence should be, how far, like if you're marking out by the highway. Because my neighbors have did something out of the ordinary. They put a big old pipe right at the end of my driveway. It's sort of like impeding me from turning up in my driveway. So I want to make sure that's legal, that's what they do.
Yes, sir. Can I, if you don't mind, will you let the code enforcer come to your address
Yes,
and address that?
yes,
Okay.
all right.
And Mr. Wooten will get with you preferably before you leave on tonight to make a connection.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Carolyn Green.
I am Carolyn Green. I reside at 108 Hildreth Street Northeast here in Camden. I'm here to see what can be done about a drainage ditch that is located between 412 and 414 North Adams. These properties are owned by the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. I have tried talking to someone, but I've been very displeased with Mr. Askew as well as with the person that's over the street. There is property at the corner of Adams and Wood that needs to be cleaned up. This process has been going on for some time and is yet to be rectified. There is a house behind a building that's owned by Merrill Lott. This house is a safety and health hazard to the community. It needs to be fixed or removed. There is a building owned by Williams Funeral Home that is located directly behind me and conjoins my property. This is another building that needs to be fixed or removed. Thank you.
And thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you so much. For our mayor's report on tonight, I want to call Mr. Ralph Wilcox from the National Register and Survey Coordinator, and Mr. Tom Marr, a Federal Programs and Tax Credit Manager with the Arkansas Historic Preservation Program.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. We were asked to come and talk to you tonight about the National Register of Historic Places and some of the programs that our office offers as a result of having something listed on the National Register. And this came about because of the recent listing of the Spring Harrison Historic District to the National Register of Historic Places. I will just talk a little bit about the National Register and what it is and what it means for that particular area of the city. And it applies to any other historic districts that are in existence here in Camden, or any that may be done in the future. Those of you who may not be familiar with the National Register, it is a program administered nationally by the National Park Service. The Arkansas Historic Preservation Program administers it here at the state level. And it's the country's official list of properties that are worthy of preservation around the state. Several types of properties can be listed on the National Register. It can include individual buildings or structures. It can include historic districts as well as sites, which are things that usually don't have buildings associated with them. To be listed on the National Register, a property usually needs to be at least 50 years old and fall under one of the National Register criteria, which would be associations with historical trends, associations with a significant person, architecture or design, or the fourth one is the ability to yield new information that might further our understanding of history or prehistory. Some of the myths that we deal with National Register is that people think that once something is listed, that they can't change that property, and that's not true. The National Register listing is an honorary designation and does not put any restrictions on the property. People also think that they must maintain a property once it's on the National Register, or that they have to open it up for tours, and that's not true either. When the National Register was created, they were very cognizant of private property rights, and so it was developed in such a way that it wouldn't infringe on private property rights. There are some benefits to National Register listing. There is publicity. Anytime that we are working with a National Register nomination, we do press releases to the local area so that people know what's going on in their backyard. It does bring about increased knowledge and pride in the community's local history. It also, in historic districts, has been shown to increase property values. There is some limited protection in National Register listing for federally funded projects, and then there are also tax credits and grants that are sometimes available. And Tom is going to talk a little bit more about that. If there are properties in Camden that people are listed in or interested in possibly listing on the National Register, our office is the office that you would work with. And I've given each of you one of my business cards and also a brochure that talks about some of the questions that we often get about the National Register of Historic Places. I'll have Tom talk to you a little bit about tax credits. There had also been some questions of us about certified local government and what that process is, and Tom can also address that to a certain extent as well. And if there are any other questions for us afterwards, we'd be more than happy to answer those.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm going to be covering several topics, so I'll try to go over them quickly. As Ralph may have mentioned, one of the benefits to having a property on the National Register, or particularly here in the case of Camden, you now have several National Register historic districts in place. Properties that are located in those districts or individually listed are eligible for our state and federal tax credit program. This gives property owners a chance to recoup some of their investment when they're doing repairs on a historic structure. They can earn a state or federal or sometimes both tax credit, which can be used to offset their state and federal income program has really been growing leaps and bounds over the last few years. We've been continually running out of money with that program, and in the last legislative session this spring, the state of Arkansas granted us an additional $4 million per year that we can use to help out with that particular program. A lot of times in towns where you have a downtown district or residential commercial districts, there's a lot of interest generated in what kind of historic preservation protection can we have for those districts. And really, the only type of local protection that you can come up with is to do what's called a certified local government historic district. And that will sort of piggyback on the back of a National Register district. And it comes down to applying to our state office with a plan how you're going to put in a historic district commission in place. The historic district commission is composed of local folks, homeowners, business owners. Usually you try to have a very genre of people on the board, so you may have an engineer, you may have an architect, you may have a historian, you may have a local property owner, local business owner. So it's just going to be a mix-up of different folks on that commission, and what they typically do is they review applications for folks that want to do work on their historic structures to make sure that the work they're doing on the exterior only is going to be something that would be considered period appropriate for that historic structure. From the state standpoint of view, we have a certified local government coordinator person. Unfortunately, that position's vacant at the moment, so I'm filling in. So I'm sort of finding my way through this tonight, so you'll have to forgive me. But that person can come to Camden and give advice to the local historic district commission. They're not here to vote on any applications. That's strictly left up to the local historic district commission board if they wanted to do that. I live in downtown North Little Rock, and I'm actually on the local historic district commission there. I've kind of got stuck chairing that. I think it's one of those positions that once you get appointed, you can't get out of it until you die. So, but we have a small commercial district, which kind of got combined with a small residential district, which made a bigger district over the years. And so we're finally starting to see some exciting things happen through that commission, like new construction. So, back in the day when the commission was set up almost 30 years ago, we just never anticipated we would see new construction in the downtown area. And now most of our meetings evolve around that, which is pretty exciting. There's a much bigger historic district in North Little Rock up in the Park Hill area, and they opted not to go certified local government, so there is absolutely no review over what happens in that district as far as changes, tear downs, modifications. But in the downtown district, the historic district commission there does oversee those types of changes to the district. This little handout in front of you here, this long green one, kind of just breaks it down as far as different things that you might be eligible for. Basically everything on this side of the page is stuff that is not historic. It basically tells you that if you want to be eligible for something, you need to get your property listed on the register. Otherwise, we just don't really have any programs that can help you out. If you are on the register in a district or individually listed, then we have the state tax credit program. We have the federal tax credit program. For city-owned buildings and nonprofits, we have an option to grant fund that those entities can apply for. We have a courthouse grant program, but that's sort of a separate deal, and I won't go into that tonight, because I know your courthouse here in town has received grants for that. And then our other grant option we have is for cemeteries that are listed on the National Register, and that's also grown a lot of popularity over the years. Little brochure I've passed along to you is just sort of gives some highlights to our state historic tax credit program. Some things, most of the information you have in front of you is about the certified local government program, and that's strictly an optional thing. want to here at the local level, it's not a requirement for being on the National Register or being in a historic district. A lot of our historic districts around the state, I would say the majority of them do not have certified local governments, but the ones that do have seen a greater protection of their historic resources in their communities. So it is an option that you might want to investigate down the road. But if you have any questions, Ralph and I would be happy to try to answer them.
I want to say thank you so much because we are, because of the new Spring Harrison district, we're hoping that you will come back to just them, to just that district, to kind of help get them off the ground. And so I'm sure that there will be some questions as we move forward. But we wanted you to come and at least let the community, make the community at large aware of what we're trying to do. We already have the Washington district, and we have some other things that are going on. And our actual goal is that since tourism is a big thing in the state of Arkansas, we actually hope that there are people who will actually check a list and say, we want to just go through Arkansas and see everywhere where the Confederacy is. We want to go and see all of the certain style of homes, and that we make those lists. And so we're trying to make sure that all of those buildings have an opportunity to reach their full potential. So.
And the one thing I would say in relation to that is that all of the National Register nominations for the state of Arkansas are available on our website, which is arkansaspreservation.com. And you can search those by property name, city, and county. So you would be able to go on there and see what all is listed here in Camden and also all over Washington County. And there are PDF documents for every National Register nomination for the state. So what was submitted to the National Park Service for the approval of the historic district or the historic property, that documentation is all available on our website.
Yes, sir.
So Camden has a historic advisory commission, and as I appreciate the information, it looks like the main difference between that and like CLG is that certified local government commission, that's actually gonna have binding authority over repairs, at least the outside renovations.
Yes.
And kind of, just in a nutshell, that's the biggest difference, is that fair?
Also, too, what I probably failed to mention was a certified local government district is also eligible for some limited grant money from the state annually to help with different types of costs like administration, maybe doing advertisement, brochures, signage, things like that. So that is one advantage also to having those.
The main difference is that we have that type of commission, plans have to be presented to that commission, and that commission actually has to approve the renovations.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And I've also given each of you one of my business cards, so if you have any questions about National Register, really anything historic preservation like related, feel free to email me or give me a call, and if I don't know the answer, I'll always try to find it for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have, letter I is old business. We have no old business before us on today. So we're ready for new business. The mayor is going to present ordinance number, no. Who will present ordinance number 321?
I'll introduce it.
It's introduced.
Ordinance number 321, an ordinance authorizing Camden Water Utilities to increase sewer rates for customers on the airport sewer system, prescribing other matters relating thereto, and declaring an emergency.
All right. Yes?
I don't have that one. Do we have an extra copy of one?
All right.
Let me make a motion to approve so that we can start discussion.
Is it motion to suspend, motion to approve?
No, that was just initial motion.
Okay, motion to approve. And it has. And we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second. Now we can begin our discussion. Before we came in tonight, there was a public hearing for this particular motion, for this particular ordinance. Will you get that door for me? Brother Cooper, will you get, okay, never mind, they got it. All right, is there any more discussion? Yes, sir.
I would like to ask David Richardson to come up here and discuss this a little, or explain it to me a little bit and tell me what kind of feedback he's getting, what this really gonna cost for the, consumers out there.
If you recall, it was probably about 2 years ago, I came before you with this very same thing again. And recently, Shoemaker has implemented this very same cost of $2 per customer plus the 37,000 toward me so that I have to pay that new increase. I don't make a lot of money off 60 customers in the area, so I can't take a hit. So that's the reason for the purpose of being here today, to ask for your approval on this particular ordinance. I did not have any feedback from any of those customers out there. Letters were sent out to each one of those customers over 30 days ago, informing them that this rate increase was coming and why it was coming. And today's public hearing, I had no one here.
Okay.
All right. Is there any more discussion? Now, we did not do a motion to suspend, we did a motion to approve.
That'd be appropriate now. Your account.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Has there been any feedback from the users of, it's gonna be, people's gonna be, have the rates raised?
No, sir, no feedback.
All right. Discussion, so we go to a roll call at this time?
Well, I don't think there's a motion, but I think we're waiting on a motion to suspend the rules and place the final reading tonight.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion that we suspend the rules and put this up for a third and final reading this evening.
Been moved
I'll second.
and properly seconded. Is there any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Argid,
Yes.
Askew.
Yes.
Moore, McCoy,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Do you need my vote? Do you need mine? 1, 2, 3.
Then we get a motion to